This program is called Making Sense of the Census. I'm Don Wilson. I want to thank Tish Como for her contribution to this presentation. The first census of the United States was taken in the year 1790. It was provided for in the Constitution. Representation in Congress was to be determined by the number of free persons in the nation, but excluding Indians not taxed and counting 3/5 of the number of slaves. Since that time, a head count has been taken every 10 years. Census records are an essential resource for family history. U.S. federal census records are now available online from 1790 to 1940. Are you finding all your relatives on the census? Census records are confidential for 72 years. That means the 1950 census is scheduled to be released in April 2022. If you need your personal unreleased census information, there is a way of getting it, but it won't be free and it won't be quick. A number of websites offer images of U.S. Census records and are completely indexed. Ancestry Library Edition is free to use in all Prince William libraries. You can save images to a thumb drive or send them home by email. Heritage Quest can be accessed at home with a Prince William County library card. Family Search is a free database maintained by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is the home page for Ancestry Library Edition. It provides access to billions of U.S. and world records. The Ancestry homepage has a quick, direct link to U.S. Census years. Heritage Quest Online is owned by Ancestry and provides a subset of Ancestry's records. It can be used from home by going to the library's digital library page. Its indexing is identical to Ancestry's. When accessing Heritage Quest from the digital library at home, you will be asked to enter the 14-digit number from the back of your library card. The first step to using Family Search is to create a free account. To limit your search to census records on Family Search, go to Find a Collection and type in the words United States Census. Here are images of some typical census records. 1790 to 1840 names only the head of the house. 1850 adds a line for each person. 1880 adds explicit relationships. 1940 is the most recent census we can see. 1790 names only the head of household plus 5 categories of numbers: white males over 16, white males under 16, white females of all ages, all other free persons, and slaves. 1800 and 1810 add 5 age categories for white males and females. Other free persons and slaves continue to have a single number count. In 1820, a new category, white males 16 to 18, is added, overlapping the 16 to 26 category. Enslaved and free persons of color are now identified by gender and by 4 age categories. Another category is added for anyone who might have been overlooked. In 1830 and 1840, many new age categories are added. Whites under 20 are shown in 5-year intervals, and if over 20, in 10-year blocks. Enslaved and free colored persons show the same categories as 1820. New questions are added for deaf and blind persons and aliens not naturalized. 1850 is the first census to name every free person. It includes their age, sex, color, place of birth, occupation, or status as a student. Since 1850, the number of additional categories has exploded. We will look at some of them in detail. One problem researchers soon discover is that records are missing for certain states or years. Almost all of Virginia's census for 1790 and 1800 are lost. Virtually the entire 1890 census was destroyed in a fire at the Commerce Department in 1921. Schedules since 1900 are generally only available on microfilm. If you need missing census records, you sometimes can substitute tax lists, state censuses, or city directories. They are not exactly the same, but can prove your ancestor was in a particular place and may provide other details about their lives. Surviving manuscript census records are at the National Archives. Some special schedules were given to state archives or other institutions. Before 2000, researchers were dependent on microfilm and published indexes. Now almost all the schedules are available on multiple websites. So with all these records indexed online, what do you do if you can't find your ancestor? Occasionally people were missed by the census taker, and occasionally families were listed twice. Very often, though, your family is there, but they do not appear in the index or on the census as we expect them to. You need to be flexible and persistent. As an example, here is what I went through looking for my ancestor, Thornberry Bailey. He was born about 1804 and died in 1857 in Preston County in what is now West Virginia. None of the three family databases listed in their index to the 1850 census. Since I reported the indexing error to Ancestry, they and Heritage Quest have added a correction. After I found the family in Preston County, I discovered how badly the indexes had read the names, especially the surname. Bailey was read as Poley and Rowley. Here are some tips for finding missing persons. Try different spellings. Don't click on exact spelling, but take advantage of the Soundex or similar spelling feature. Use the wildcards, asterisk and question mark, to replace unknown or variable characters. Often you need to show at least 3 letters. Look for other people you expect to find in the household, especially ones with unusual given names. Leave the given name or surname blank, then scroll through the results in the locality. Look for the names of neighbors. Maybe they stayed in one place a long time. In more recent censuses, look for the street where you expect them to be. City directories can help. As a last resort, you can scroll through the entire jurisdiction where you expect them to be. Some of the detail on the census can be very helpful to your research. Things like occupation, property value, place of birth, marital information, education. The names given to children may be important clues to their ancestors. Occupational categories appear on the census as early as 1820. Finding an ancestor's occupation in a city directory can help confirm he is the same person found on the census. My ancestor, Chauncey Bailey, was a railroad machinist and is shown as such on the 1910 census of Union County, Mississippi, and the 1912 directory of Memphis, Tennessee. From 1850 to 1870, value of real estate is shown. From 1900 to 1940, it is reported whether you rent or own and if you have a mortgage. Based on these clues, you may be able to verify their land holdings in records at the county courthouse. If a person shows a high value of personal property in 1860, it may indicate ownership of slaves, if in a slave state, or it may indicate a merchant's storehouse of goods. Places of birth can show how and when people migrated. My ancestor, James O'Neill, was born in Ohio, his wife in Canada. The 1870 census shows they lived in 4 states over about 4 years: Indiana, Iowa, Missouri, and then Kansas. From 1850 on, you can estimate the date of marriage based on the age of the oldest child in the household. From 1850 to 1870, it may say they were married within the past year. Since 1880, marital status is explicit. The number of years married is reported in 1900 and 1910, and in 1930 we learn their age at first marriage. Before 1850, you can estimate the number of children in the household and their ages. Beginning in 1850, the census taker is told to name the children in order of age, implying they belong to the head of the household. Beginning in 1880, kinship is specified. If you see a listing for an adopted child, it may indicate what we would now call a foster child. In 1900 and 1910, women report how many children they have given birth to and how many are living. Since 1820, the census has provided evidence of immigration. In the beginning, they counted foreigners, not naturalized. Beginning in 1850, place of birth is specified. 1870 adds whether a person's parents were of foreign birth. From 1900 to 1930, the year of arrival in the U.S. is told along with naturalization status. 1940 asks if foreign-born persons are citizens. The census may give evidence of military service. 1840 identifies pensioners for revolutionary or other military service. A special 1890 schedule identifies living Union veterans. The 1910 schedule tells whether a man is a veteran of the Union or Confederate Army or Navy. The 1930 census identifies veterans of any war or expedition. Next, we will take a look at a variety of special schedules. Non-population schedules are not yet online for Arkansas, Delaware, D.C., Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, or West Virginia. Before 1850, slave statistics are in the general population schedules. In 1850 and 1860, enslaved persons are listed in separate schedules under the name of the slave owner or employer. Their age, gender, and color, either black or mulatto, are given, but not their name. If a slave is a fugitive, being manumitted or disabled, that may be mentioned. Mortality schedules from 1850 to 1880 list everyone who died during the 12 months before the census was taken. At that time, the census date was June 1st. Information for each decedent is similar to that on the main population schedule, plus cause of death. In 1885, Colorado, Florida, and Nebraska took advantage of a federal offer to take an extra census. That census also included a mortality schedule. Agricultural schedules list all farms over a certain size, indexed by the name of its owner or manager. It details everything raised on the farm and its value. Lists after 1880 have not been preserved. Manufacturing or industry schedules from 1850 to 1880 are indexed by the name of the owner or corporation. They describe mills or factories, their raw materials, and the products they make. In 1820, a similar survey was taken, but without as much detail. The social schedules describe cemeteries within city boundaries, trade societies, lodges, and clubs, churches and other religious institutions, educational institutions, libraries, newspapers, and other periodicals. They also give statistics of paupers, criminals, and convicts. These schedules exist for 1850 to 1870. In 1880, social schedules evolved into lists of the poor, homeless, and disabled, along with incarcerated people. In later years, such people would appear on the general population schedules. Of the 1890 lists of Union veterans and widows, only about half of them survive, states alphabetically from Kentucky to the letter W. See Family Search Wiki for locations for some alternate copies. They give their residence, rank, military unit, and dates of service, plus descriptions of wounds. Occasionally, a Confederate veteran was listed by mistake. In the period 1880 to 1940, American Indians on reservations were enumerated in various years, but not by the Census Bureau. These lists, often typed by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, are arranged by family within tribal bands. They include name, usually in the native language, gender, relation to head of household, and age. Several websites now have these indexed lists. This concludes our presentation. Thank you. The RELIC staff invites you to contact us for help with your family research.